I'm Professor Shrfu. I'm presenting today physical aspects of women's self-defense. That is, I'll provide some martial techniques. Fortunately, the most important stuff comes first. And that's not the techniques, not the physicality, but the mentality. Greetings. I'm Professor Shrfu J. McCoy of St. Clair College and the Wushen Kung Fu Academy. In this video lesson I'm presenting today is on a very important topic. So please focus and listen carefully.
Go ahead! Go ahead! Go ahead! Go ahead! Go ahead!
The topic is women's self-defense. In a follow-up video, I'll offer more of the physical aspects of women's self-defense. That is, I'll provide some martial techniques. Fortunately, the most important stuff comes first. And that's not the techniques, not the physicality, but the mentality. It's a cliche to say your mind is your greatest weapon. You've heard that from many kung fu or martial arts instructors in many movies. But there is a truth to it, that more important than what you do with your hands, what you do with your feet, is what you do with your eyes, your ears, and your brain.
Just remember, a license never replaces eye, ear, and brain.
So let's discuss those first. Now, it's been suggested that we shouldn't teach women self-defense, we should teach men not to rape. And that's a great idea. But that would require an entire paradigm shift of our society, where no man objectifies women. No man looks at women as something to be owned, and no man blames women for his own shortcomings. And we're at least 100 years away from that society. My suggestion is to write down the things you're hearing today. At the very least, repeat them back so that they're easier to remember. We begin with the 3 do's and 3 don'ts of women's self-defense. And the 3 do's begin with do run. Do run. Now that might sound obvious, do run. When there's danger, run away from it. But what a lot of women fail to do is run when they suspect danger. If they're walking down the street or through a parking lot and they hear someone behind them and their gut tells them this could be a dicey situation, start running. Many women don't because they think to themselves, well, it's silly to just take off running when there's no obvious threat. It's embarrassing. It's unfortunate how many women have been raped because they didn't want to be embarrassed. Now please understand, that does not put the blame on the women in any way. Simply because they didn't make the choice to run doesn't make it right to blame the victim. It's always the rapist's fault and no one else. Still, if you can reduce the chances of you being attacked by running when you have some fear, do so. Of course, most attacks aren't done by strangers when you're walking down a street or going for a hike or walking through a parking garage. Unfortunately, most rapes are acquaintance rapes. When you know someone and you're in a situation with them alone and you weren't at all expecting them to attack. But even in those situations, run or get out of there if your gut tells you that something's off. If you go over to a man's home because you think it's going to be some kind of business meeting, and it turns out there's only 2 of you there, and things feel a little dicey, find an excuse. You can say, oh, I forgot something in my car, and simply not come back. And then the next day at work, if it seems embarrassing, just say, well, I got an emergency phone call. My mother was ill, or my husband's mother was ill. Whatever excuse you need. You can excuse yourself to the washroom. Bring your phone. Text some short, predetermined signal or code to your roommate, friend, boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, or husband. Maybe your cue is actually the letter Q. And he sees Q on his text and realizes he needs to call you in the next 30 seconds. And as you're coming out of the restroom, suddenly your phone rings. What? Oh, I'll be there momentarily. It's my husband. Don't hang up. Make sure he can hear you. I'm leaving. I gotta go. The second do is do scream. It might sound strange to practice screaming, but a lot of people freeze up when they're afraid. So to overcome that, you can actually practice when you're practicing your self-defense application with a partner and you're visualizing an actual attack. That way you've conditioned yourself to be able to scream in that moment. Scream loudly. And what do you scream? Anything. Now you may have heard an old urban myth not to scream rape because people won't pay attention. They won't come. I'm happy to say there's no evidence to support that at all. It's a lie. People will pay attention when you scream rape. They'll pay attention when you scream help or when you scream fire. Even if you just scream ah, it doesn't matter so long as you scream loudly and get attention on yourself. I'm very glad that people do not ignore the scream of rape. That would say terrible things about our society, wouldn't it? Now, perhaps the number one reason it doesn't go unattended is kind of a stupid one. In our society, men like me grow up watching TV and movies where they're taught that men should be the savior of women. And they have this fantasy growing up that they will be the knight on a stallion riding in to save a woman from distress. So when they hear rape, they might picture themselves like Clark Kent taking off his glasses and swooping in, "Here I come to save the day." And as stupid as that is, use it to your advantage. Scream rape. Get all the attention on you. Scream anything you want so long as people are looking, because that will help to prevent the rape. It'll help him from taking you somewhere else. Another point we'll get back to later on. The third do react immediately. Don't stop and think, well, when I get a moment I'm going to try this, or what was that technique that Shrfu J showed me, or even wait till he grabs me this way, then I'll do something. Don't even think about your technique. Just react immediately any way you can. Screaming, flailing about, trying to get loose, primarily attacking the eyes if you can think of it. But go nuts right away. Go crazy. And in the midst of that, if there's an opportunity to use a technique, take it. And then get the hell out of there. That'll be more obvious when we explore the 3 don'ts. I'm a chauvinistic pig. What's the evidence of that? The first don't I'm about to give you. Don't walk alone at night. It's sexist, isn't it? It's unfair. Would I tell my male students not to walk alone at night? No, I wouldn't. But we live in an unfair world. So I hope you can forgive my sexist suggestion. And I also understand if you totally disregard it. Still, I hope you'll keep yourself safe and not walk alone at night. Moving on, the second don't. Don't look like a victim. Now there's an old adage about women's self-defense that says, rapists don't create victims, they find them. Now that's not exactly true. Rapists do create the victims. No one's a victim without someone victimizing them. And again, I don't want to blame someone for being attacked. It's always the rapist's fault. But when they say they find them, they are referring to the fact that they are making choices. They are picking the women that look most vulnerable. The rapist, along with every other terrible thing that he is a bully. He's not going out to attack a man who's 240 pounds of muscle. He's looking for someone he thinks will be an easy mark, someone who won't fight back. And that woman looks like this. That's what a victim looks like. That looks like someone who won't put up a fight. You want to look like someone who will put up a fight. So you should stride confidently through the parking lot or wherever else you might be going. Do I look like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine? No doubt you've been told to carry your keys this way. That's a great idea. I've heard people argue against it. They said that the pressure from the key will push into your hand. So what? How dangerous is that going into my hand? Not at all. Not nearly as dangerous as this going into someone's cheek or their eye or their teeth or their throat. Also, it's unlikely to be a problem anyway. In all my years as an instructor, I've rarely had to tell someone to be more tense. They're almost always too tense, and they have to learn to relax before that strike reaches its point of contact. So you're not likely to be carrying it too loosely. You're likely to be tensing up and holding it very firmly. On top of that, it relates to don't look like a victim. If you're walking like this through a parking lot, you look like somebody who's ready for a problem. And you're less likely to be chosen to be someone who's attacked. Another great thing that you carry with you that can be helpful in that situation is your phone. You can be walking along talking on your phone, and that person is less likely to attack you because someone can hear the attack. And they'll be even less likely if you start describing that person walking towards you. He's about 5'11", white guy, wearing blue jeans, black shirt. You might think, why is she describing me? But he's less likely to attack you. You can even hold the phone at him and pretend you're videotaping the area. You can talk to someone, even if that person's not really there. Can you see what's going on? Oh, good. Is it recording? Terrific. He's unlikely to attack you in that situation. So don't look like a victim. The third don't relates back to the third do. Do react immediately. The third don't is don't let him take you to crime scene number 2. What does that mean? What is crime scene number 2? That's where the real attack happens. When they find women's bodies out in the woods, quite often they're wearing heels or pumps. They're wearing their work clothes. They weren't out jogging in the woods. They weren't out hiking. So how did they get there? That's where he took them. And why did he take them there? Because that's where he felt safe to initiate his attack, his real attack. When he attacks someone in a parking garage or on a corner, he knows there's a chance that he'll be seen. So what he wants to do is take the victim to another location, a safer place, which is why you start screaming immediately and flailing your arms about immediately, attacking the eyes right away. You don't wait. Because even if none of those techniques work, you get attention on yourself. People are going to look, and that's what he's afraid of. He doesn't want anyone to see. So start going nuts and fighting back right away. Don't waste any time. And do not let him take you to crime scene number 2. Why would you go? Because he'll tell you it's your best option. When he comes up and puts his arm around your throat and he whispers in your ear, "Come with me and you won't get hurt," he's lying. Isn't that obvious? The man's probably a murderer and a rapist. Isn't it likely he's also a liar? So he'll tell you, you'll be safe so long as you don't fight. That's a lie. Fight, and fight right away. So let's review. 3 do's. Do run. Do scream. Do react immediately. 3 don'ts. Don't walk alone at night. Don't look like a victim. And don't let him take you to crime scene number 2. I hope you found that information helpful. Better still, I hope you never need to find out if that information was helpful. Please watch the follow-up video in which I offer some physical self-defense techniques. Thank you for watching.